We now have a quorum, so we will call the meeting to order. And roll call, let the record reflect that all are present with the exception of Rosalind Parks and Nate Treadaway. Minutes from the previous meeting, has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Had a chance to look at? And I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. Minutes are approved. Mr. Code Officer report.
None this evening, sir.
We will, at this time, declare the public hearings open. For item number 1, a request for a variance for parking requirements at 730 Highway 138. Code Officer report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like I said, this is a request by the applicant, PRH 730 Monroe LLC at 730 Highway 138. They're requesting parking that exceeds the maximum the required parking plus the 20% that's allowed administratively. Staff recommends denial of the variance as submitted without conditions. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I would ask if there's anyone present to speak for this request.
My name's Michael Toothager. I'm with LaCroix Engineering. We've developed the civil documents for this and been working with Pat and Brad on this for, 6 months now, and have gone back and forth on the site plan, multiple iterations to get to this point. And it was actually brought up at the last meeting I came to that we needed to file for this parking variance. So it was a little bit of surprise then, filed, and now to hear the recommendation for denial. I'm kind of shocked, honestly. We've been doing Starbucks developments for 10 years now all throughout the Southeast, and really, unless you're in a metro urban area, downtown Atlanta, downtown Charleston, areas like that, they need a minimum of 24 spaces to function. They have 8 employees on a shift, and then with 52 seats, if a third of those are occupied with different parties, you're looking at 15 patrons plus 8 employees. That's 23 people right there. So to be at 20 spaces isn't going to work for Starbucks, whether it's on this site or anywhere else within the city limits, honestly.
So you're asking for an additional 6 spaces, right?
Yes, sir.
20
Well,
ladies.
yeah, they could live with 24, but the current site plan actually has 24. We initially had 26. But the site plan that's in for review right now has 24 spaces.
And I failed to mention earlier, too, one of the reasons for the denial, besides the fact that it exceeds the allowable maximum that we could do administratively, therefore we basically have to recommend denial, is that they may be bumping up against the impervious surface limits, which aren't calculated on the plan. So if he can speak to that, that'd be great as well.
Yeah, I can speak to that. We're greatly reducing the impervious area on the site. Let's see if I've got it here on my plan.
But if that's under 60%, that won't be a contention.
Unfortunately, my plan doesn't have it.
If that percentage is under 60% of the site being impervious, then that won't be a contention. I didn't see it on the site plan.
It's not on the current site plan, it's on the current grading plan. So compared to what's out there today, we're absolutely reducing the amount of impervious. I don't know if we're under that 60% mark or not. They would not be opposed to making some of the spaces pervious pavement if that got us under that, as long as they were allowed to have the number of spaces requested. They're willing to work to get the 24 spaces. But I can tell you what's out there today is an almost 6,000 square foot building with 75 plus or minus parking spaces.
Can you tell me the dimensions of the drive? It seems to be a one-way direction of travel around the building. What is the dimension of the driveways going all the way around?
So the one that kind of, not the drive-through, but the lane around, on the south side, it's 24 feet.
Okay,
On the east side of the plan there, it's 20 feet. And then on the north side, it's a combined 24, or 26 actually, with a 14-foot drive-through lane and a 12-foot bypass. We have to have 20-foot minimum as a fire code requirement. So, I mean, we're given an additional 4 feet on the bottom side there just for maneuverability, but
so in the single lane travel, at least that's what it appears by the arrows of direction. You could at least reduce that down by 4 feet, and you'd be getting somewhere closer to the maximum impervious surfaces. Have you explored any other possible options? I mean, I like your idea.
at this point, we haven't, because the stormwater requirements that we read through in developing our construction documents, if we were under what's out there today, we really weren't required to do anything above and beyond from a stormwater standpoint. So in just reducing compared to what's out there today, we looked at that as being good, and I think it's probably 2,000 or 3,000 square feet that we're reducing it by, in all honesty. So no, we didn't look at doing pervious pavement at the time.
Any other questions?
It sounds to me the effort is made to comply and keep the number of spaces they're requesting. Is my hearing that right?
I'm sorry,
I said it sounds to me they're trying to comply, to add the additional spaces they need with what they're going to do as far as impervious.
absolutely. Like I said before, the recommendation for denial is based solely on the fact that it exceeded the administrative variance ability that we have to go over 120%.
Yeah.
So if you choose to do otherwise, then we wouldn't have any objection. That's up to you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I will have to ask at this time if there was anyone here to speak in opposition of this request. Seeing none, we will close the public hearings and entertain a motion.
I have one more question.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm just trying to do some quick math in my head. If they reduce the drive down to a minimum 20-foot width, that would be getting them a little closer, so I'm just trying to expedite this for them, but how should it be tabled so they can, would y'all be interested in revising and trying to get this thing correct?
Well, the drive lane wasn't a concern at this point. It may come up in the design review for development, but the variance request was simply for parking space
okay.
increase.
You need a motion?
I need
I move we approve.
okay, a second. A second?
I motion to approve with conditions of getting as close to, lack of better terms, of what the city is asking to make it correct.
Was that a motion to approve so long as they meet the impervious surface requirements?
Or at least reduce their impervious surfaces currently shown down to get it closer to that 60% mark? I think I'm making this more difficult. than
No,
it has to be.
I understand that. So the motion would be to approve with the condition of reducing the,
Total impervious surface below 60%.
Is-
Certainly. Please.
Not knowing the calculation, if we're at 60%, we don't need to reduce further, correct?
What's that?
Like, if we're at 60%, we wouldn't need to reduce the impervious.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
absolutely. If you already meet that requirement, it just wasn't shown on this particular site plan. So if y'all could just clarify the motion for the number of parking spaces, you're
Okay.
going to motion to approve.
The motion to approve for the 26 spaces.
Yes.
Second.
And a second, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion is passed. Thank you very much. We will open the public hearings again for item number 2. Request for a rezone at 0 Double Springs Church Road from R1A to R1A with modifications. Mr. Code Officer.
Yes, sir, thank you. As you said, this is a request for that modification to the conditions on R1A zoned property. The, for Parkland Communities, Rowell Family Partnership, and Still Family Realty LLC, they're requesting to just change a singular word from submittal to approval in condition number 7. Staff recommends approval of this change. It's somewhat inconsequential. They just were concerned about the timing of their application and submittal of their preliminary plat at such time as they may be able to do that, which would require development agreement and the lifting of the moratorium. So they're just requesting that singular word change so that they could expedite their application at the time that it's permissible.
Is there anyone here to speak for this request? Yes, sir.
Hey, good evening. My name is Tyler Lasser with Alliance Engineering and Planning. Tonight, I'm representing the applicant, Parkland Communities, and Jim Jacoby, who could not be here tonight. He's had some family matters to take care of. He just wanted to apologize for that. But tonight, we're just requesting that change in conditions from their rezoning that was approved back in January, which was from R1 to R1A, which allowed a development with 141 units on 83 acres, which is at the corner of Cedar Ridge and Double Springs Church Roads. Specifically, we would request to alter condition 7, which required that we, or Parkland, enter into a development agreement prior to the submittal of a preliminary plat. Instead, they are requesting to change the condition to allow for the development agreement to be executed prior to the approval of the preliminary plat. The original condition would require Parkland to first go through that process with the city council to get the development agreement first. And it sounds like those, the development agreement will kind of take on upgrades to water and sewer infrastructure. After that, they would be able to submit the preliminary plat, which would also must go through that formal process with city council. If a development agreement isn't finalized by that next submittal after the expiration of the moratorium, it could just add a significant amount of time to that process. The change condition would give Parkland the opportunity to submit their preliminary plat and get a jump on the engineering and review process and talks with staff while that moratorium is still in effect until June 30th, and enter into a development agreement simultaneously with the preliminary plat approval. The request itself will have no effect on the moratorium, which again is effect until June 30th, and it will not have any impact on the layout of the development. All the other conditions are absolutely agreeable with the developer. So if everything goes to plan, we'd officially be able to submit for the preliminary plat sometime in mid-July, which is when the first round of applications will begin after the moratorium, and then it would be likely a mid-September city council public hearing at that point. Any other questions I'd be happy to answer?
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. So the recommendation was for,
Recommendation was approval of the R1A zoning modification, R1 condition zoning modification to this new R1A with these new conditions, which are all 11 exactly the same except for the minor one-word change in condition 7.
at this time, I'd ask if there was anyone present to speak in opposition to this request. Seeing none, we will close the public hearings, and I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion is approved. Any old business to come before this commission? New business, a request for a preliminary plat review at 0 Double Springs Church Road.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. And I know that's the same address as the other one. It's simply because addresses haven't been assigned to these parcels, but this one is wholly separate from the last one we just discussed. It's a request for preliminary plat review, which is for commission's discussion and recommendation. And it's in order except for the 4 conditions that we've described in the staff recommendation, which is approval of the preliminary plat, subject to the corrections listed on the cover page and in the staff report.
So do we need for anybody to speak for this?
No, this is just for
This is just for
the commission's consideration and consent.
the conditions. I've not-
If you'd like, I'll be happy to read the conditions.
Please do that.
They're just pretty technical in nature, but the first one is to show the existing locations, street locations and the rights-of-way abutting the site. On sheet 1 of 5, increase the size of the lot labels to be legible. Portions of the floodplain appear to be missing on the east side of Mountain Creek and on lots 5 and 6, revise accordingly. And please increase the size of the signature approval blocks and signature lines for the owner's authorization. Provide additional signature blocks for the additional owners on the site. Very technical, minor things.
Then I would entertain a motion for approval with conditions or denial.
Motion to approve with conditions.
Second.
And second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. It is approved. This time we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.